Welcome to Becoming, hosted by the Colorado State Employee Assistance Program. On this podcast, we interview state employees about how they adopted different mindsets that changed how they lived their lives. We hope these conversations inspire you to reflect on your own mindsets, which could help improve your overall mental health and well-being. So with me today is Windi. Thanks, Windi, for being here. We're actually on location at Bar Lake in the great outdoors. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. Windi, tell me a little bit about your role and what you do for the state.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Meta. And I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Colorado Department of Natural Resources. So we're at Bar Lake State Park, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife is one of our divisions. And Colorado Parks and Wildlife has 43 state parks. Bar Lake State Park is one really close to the metro area. And I love coming here. I love bringing my teams here to have meetings, off-site meetings. So for the Department of Natural Resources, I manage a lot of kind of behind-the-scenes support functions like HR, technology, fleet, those types of things. And so my job and my team's job is really to support all the people out in the field, like the park managers, like the park rangers. And so I've been with the Department of Natural Resources since I was about 15 years old. My first job was building trails and cleaning bathrooms at state wildlife areas down by Trinidad, west of Trinidad, Colorado. And I've been really lucky to spend most of my career either helping people who are working at the department and being out in nature and helping Coloradans enjoy all the parks and all the wildlife areas and places that they enjoy.
So, Windi, tell us about, the traits that you've come upon in the many years of work that you've done with the outdoors, and why are these traits important for people?
Yeah, I grew up just in nature. That was my first job. And when I went away to college, I went away to kind of to me was on the East Coast, a very big city. At night, there was noise. There's just, noise. I fell asleep with kind of the sounds of nature and coyotes and, that type of thing. And it's the first time I ever had noise trying to go to sleep. And so for months and months and months, I couldn't really figure out what to do. And then on the campus, I just started taking walks either alone or with my friends. And then during COVID, I was the HR director, and that was a very stressful time. I would get to where I wouldn't even go outside for, like a week at a time because I was working so much. I got sick really, really, in terms of just feeling very depleted and that type of thing, and then just realizing I could take a 10-minute break.
Yeah.
I could go outside and sort of those types of experiences. And then sort of the social isolation during COVID, realizing how important community is, and finding, not only at work, I feel like I have a wonderful team. I love everyone I work with, but also just being in person with folks. So I started volunteering in my town and just met amazing people with different backgrounds. But again, kind of in those outdoor spaces. Yeah. And I've gotten a lot better at this. So before it's I'm sort of at the end of my rope, it is sort of stopping to notice and saying 15 minutes outside is going to do a total reset for me. And so
would you say that working and being in nature has taught you a little bit more about self-awareness, self-management, and community?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful thing that nature could do that.
Yeah. So
what called you to the work? I mean, 15 years old, you decided to start in this kind of role, and you've been in it ever since.
When I was looking around for jobs when I was 15, I saw an ad for youth and natural resources at our state wildlife area, which was local to us, but about 30 minutes away from where I lived. And so I think I made $4 an hour at 15 years old. Wow. And the first day I got there, we hiked about 7 miles and took shovels and built some trails, and I just loved it so much. So being outside and was how I grew up. I just grew up outside, and so it just seemed natural to have a job like that.
That's so cool. I grew up outside too. So I was born and raised in Guam, which is an unincorporated territory of the United States, and literally my backyard was the jungle.
Yeah.
And I remember like we used to just chill outside, and this one day me and my friends even cut us our own path between two villages, two little neighborhoods, but it was over like what felt like more than a mile.
Right.
But we created a shortcut with machetes. And growing up in nature as a kid, I feel bad for kids who don't experience it, because it just changes your relationship with the world.
My husband grew up on a farm, definitely out in nature as well. And so as we became parents, we live in a subdivision now, and we've lived in a subdivision for a long time. And I used to feel very guilty about my kids growing up that way. But what I've realized over the years in doing this work and in meeting all the people who use our parks and around my community is you can have a backyard garden. You can step out of your door, walk on the sidewalk, and get to a neighborhood park. And there's no right or wrong way to be outdoors. You live in the middle of the city and you have plants growing on your balcony, or even if you have indoor plants, or if you just walk to your neighborhood park, that counts. I think sometimes in Colorado we think the only thing that counts is to go west to the mountains and go, way over and ski, or go on a huge raft trip or go on a backcountry camping trip. But close to home is just as good for the soul.
What positive benefits to mental health do you see with both versions of being in nature, whether it's the park inside of the city or going out into the great outdoors?
For me, it's a way to kind of self-regulate. So, in my role now, I do a lot of meetings. So I'm in meetings a lot, either, in the office in downtown Denver or in my home, and going outside and just maybe not even having earbuds in, but kind of listening to the birds. I think there's research showing that time in nature helps problem solving, but kind of is a good reset. I think just vitamin D and sunlight helps regulate sleep cycles, actually, especially if you get sunlight on your skin in morning hours, that type of thing. Huge, enormous benefits. And again, it could literally be on a balcony or the backyard, or it could be super adventurous. I think Bar Lake is maybe 7 or 10 miles around the whole lake, So it could be kind of whatever ability level. And then I think also our outdoor spaces are kind of community gathering spaces. So I think there's also that solitude piece of, being by yourself, hearing the birds, hearing the quiet, that type of thing. But then there's also the community piece where there's a lot of opportunities to sort of meet up with people who have the same interests, or just meet your neighbors, or take your kids.
We often think of gathering spaces as inside of just buildings and these more developed spaces as opposed to out in nature. So I really think that's a really great point to make, especially as an island kid.
Yeah.
Like, most of my fondest memories with friends, family, is at the beach.
Yeah.
Right? We're like by the water, we're barbecuing, we're listening to music, we're playing our own music, we have our guitars out, from morning till night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that a lot of that happens. We make memories, we form connections, we build relationships outside.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you want to bring your entire family, like 40 people, and play music and have a huge barbecue, that counts.
Yeah.
But if if you want to be alone and hike 8 miles by yourself, that counts.
Yeah.
Right? There's no one right way to do it.
Can you speak a little bit more about how Colorado maybe is making the outdoors more accessible to folks who may have disabilities? Is there more to say about that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So Colorado Parks and Wildlife right now is doing a huge survey. We're trying to get it out to as many people as possible, just to say, how do you experience our outdoor spaces, which could be state wildlife areas, state parks, that type of thing. Tell us about how accessible they are. And there are places like Mueller State Park, Ridgeway State Park, Staunton, Pueblo, Cheyenne Mountain, Bar Lake, where people can people can reserve a track chair, or they can reserve just a rugged type of device, adaptive trail equipment, where, hey, I want to go 10 miles, they can reserve that and they can go 10 miles. And then if you think about folks with like low vision disabilities, there's the ARIS app where they can walk a trail and sort of hear a guided tour, right?
Wow.
And so that's been launched at our state parks as well.
Can you maybe tell us a story of, it's hard because you grew up in it, so it's almost like it was baseline for you. The outdoors, your relationship with nature, it wasn't this thing you were thinking about. Like, what story would you tell somebody to help them understand? Like, nature is important because...
That's a great question. Growing up, we lived in the woods, and my kids call my parents' house, the grandma who lives in the woods, that
nice.
type of thing. And so, I've always been very comfortable around wildlife. We had bears who would come around, black bears who would come around. When I was there, when my sister and I were there in the summer, and my parents were off at work, I'd just go outside and bang pots and pans around and scare the bears away. When I was working for Colorado Parks and Wildlife and kind of helping people think about how to live in bear country, or how to do things around their house, and to sort of see it as coexistence versus let's just go ahead and move all the bears to Wyoming or something.
Right, yeah.
I think it gave me an empathy to say, yeah, it's not easy, but these animals are not there to attack you or eat you or something like that. But you have to be really smart, and you have to be really safe. With my kids too, what I always try to do is take them outside as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think my husband works a lot of weekends, so when my daughter caught her first fish and when my son caught his first fish, I was the one who was there with them, and I was the one who taught them how to fish. And my mom was the one who taught me how to fish too, because my dad worked a lot of weekends. So just like having those experiences.
I think you're describing like very close to what we call like moments of awe. Research shows that like people who experience awe, who actually experience awesome things,
right?
Like their mental health and their emotional well-being is a little bit more, I guess, balanced or leveled.
Yeah.
And like those are those moments of awe, like
Yeah.
catching my first fish, right? Or I mean, you'll probably feel terror when you see your first bear at the same time, but like it is an awesome moment to be out in nature and like see a bear.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, every time I see deer in the wild, it's just, I stop, you know, just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because I think it helps with the reset. It kind of helps you remember like this world is big and grand and beautiful, and just there's so much of it for us to experience.
Yeah. It's all... It's positive vibes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Nature resets you to these positive vibes, 100%.
Yeah.
Is there any other thoughts that you might want to share with either the state employees or anyone who might be listening?
Like I said, no right or wrong way to go outside.
Yeah.
But you don't have to sort of figure it out on your own either.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a ton of volunteer opportunities, whether it's a city, county, state, federal, public lands, where people meet people who want to volunteer together, and that's sort of a great community. And there's a ton of online communities and a ton of nonprofits that take people on nature walks or that take people camping. And so it's not being outdoors is not a solitary thing if you don't want it to be. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Windi, for sharing your story. I think you sharing your story is definitely going to help others venture out into nature, and I hope they find that self-awareness, self-management, and community that you found, because it clearly it's done wonders. Thanks
Yeah.
for getting on our podcast, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.